Deranged woman fatally shoots her husband before dropping his body off at the hospital and fleeing the scene. What's up, my urban crimers? We back with another crazy video. Make sure you guys go ahead and hit that like button and follow for more true crime content. In the early hours of New Year's Day 2025, the Mobile, Alabama community was shaken by a tragic event involving Genesis Tanksley and her husband, Lazarus Tanksley. At around 1 a.m., police were called to University Hospital in Mobile, Alabama after nurses discovered a lifeless body laying in the parking lot of the hospital. It is alleged that Genesis Tanksley had fatally shot her husband and dropped his body off at the hospital before fleeing the scene. In the beginning, things for the young couple seemed to be going very great. They would welcome a beautiful child into the world and start a happy family together. Shortly after moving in together, Genesis would go into a deep depression, and things would begin to take a turn for the worse for the young couple. Lazarus claimed on many occasions how Genesis was very abusive towards him and became very hostile in simple situations. The young father did everything he could to keep their relationship going, but eventually the two would have to separate in order for him to protect himself. Now, during their separation, Genesis would become pregnant with their second child, and this would lead to the couple getting back together and working things out. Lazarus did everything in his power to be a stand-up guy, father, and husband, but sadly, on New Year's Day 2025, his own wife Genesis would do the unthinkable. Witness on the scene reported that Genesis arrived to the home that Lazarus was staying at on St. Stephen's Road, and the two would get into a heated verbal argument. The argument would continue, and it would get so intense that Genesis would retrieve her firearm and fatally shoot Lazarus before fleeing the scene on foot. Genesis would return moments later and actually help and transport Lazarus to the hospital herself. Sadly, after arriving at the hospital, the young father would die from his injuries. After gathering enough evidence and speaking to witnesses on the scene, police were able to pinpoint 27-year-old Genesis Tanksley as the fatal shooter. Days later, 27-year-old Genesis Tanksley was apprehended and taken into custody. She now sits in a Mobile, Alabama jail on first-degree murder charges.